Republic Act 9593, or the Tourism Act of 2009, frames tourism as a national development strategy, recognizing it as an engine of investment, employment, and foreign exchange. The law's central goal is to professionalize and strengthen the Department of Tourism and its attached agencies so that tourism can be planned, promoted, and regulated effectively. It also promotes sustainable and community-based approaches so local culture and natural resources become part of responsible tourism growth. In short, RA 9593 moves tourism from ad hoc promotion to a coordinated policy instrument for economic and social development.
RA 9593, or the Tourism Act of 2009, recognizes tourism as a vital driver of national growth. It empowers the Department of Tourism, establishes tourism enterprise zones, and promotes heritage protection while engaging local governments and private partners. But the law also sets limits. TSZ incentives are valid only for 10 years. Local autonomy is upheld, so DOT cannot override LGU authority, and benefits apply strictly to accredited enterprises with duty-free operations restricted. In short, the Act accelerates tourism development while ensuring accountability and respect for local governance.
In the context of urban planning, these sections of the Tourism Act of 2009 correlate urban planning to our local policies. First, Sections 59 to 61 introduce tourism enterprise zones or TEZs, which require careful master planning, grouping attractions, and ensuring accessibility while integrating local amenities and infrastructure. Second, Section 33 supports urban revitalization through the identification and preservation of ecotourism and cultural heritage zones, encouraging planners to renew public spaces and protect historic districts. Third, Section 61 mandates the involvement of local government and communities in planning and managing TEZs, ensuring stakeholder engagement and requiring environmental and socio-cultural studies for every project. Finally, Sections 34 and 61 emphasize the need for sustainable infrastructure and urban design by requiring tourism zones to adopt environmentally responsible for long-term viability.
First, let's look at Boracay. In 2018, the island was closed for rehabilitation due to overdevelopment and pollution. Guided by RA 9593's push for sustainable tourism, the DOT, DNR, and LGUs worked together to set stricter rules, carrying capacity limits, and eco-friendly systems. This shows how the law ensures that tourism protects both the environment and local community. Next, we have Intramuros. Under RA 9593, the Intramuros administration promotes heritage conservation. Restoration projects, cultural festivals, and guided tours have revived Manila's walled city, balancing cultural preservation with tourism growth. Both examples highlight how RA 9590 doesn't just grow tourism, it protects our environment, culture, and national identity.
So to summarize, the Tourism Act of 2009, or the RA 9593, has helped to boost our tourism industry by creating programs and letting LGUs take bigger role in developing their local spots. But there's always a room for improvement. So our suggestions are: first is to make sure that the rules and standards are really followed, especially when it comes to the environment. Second is to give more training and support to local communities. In that way, they can manage their own tourism projects. The third one is to promote not just the famous places, but also the smaller ones or the hidden destinations by improving access and infrastructures. And lastly, we have to update the law from time to time so it keeps up with the new issues like climate change and technology. In that way, tourism becomes more sustainable, inclusive, and more beneficial to everyone. So the next law is about Republic Act 10066, or the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2010. This law was passed to protect and promote both the tangible and intangible cultural heritage of the Philippines. The rationale behind this act is very important because it helps preserve our national identity by safeguarding what makes us uniquely Filipino. Second is it prevents the loss of cultural properties, which are often threatened by neglection, urban development, or even natural disasters. The third one is it provides a stronger legal framework by unifying the government agencies and other institutions. And the Act also empowers local government and communities to take part in protecting our heritage. To make it simple, the RA 10066 takes part so that our culture and history are preserved not just for us today, but also for the future generation.
The scope covers both tangible and intangible heritage, like artifacts, historic sites, traditions, and languages. It empowers agencies such as the NCCA, National Museum, and NHCP to conserve, restore, and educate the public while also giving incentives like grants and awards for preservation. On the other hand, the limitation sets boundaries to protect heritage. This include banning demolition or alteration of heritage sites without approval, regulating excavations and exports, requiring owners to register their properties, and restricting the renaming of historical landmarks. Violators face fines, imprisonment, or confiscation of property.
For the law's main heritage tools and controls, first, declarations and designations. Cultural property can be formally declared as a national cultural treasure, important cultural property, or placed within a heritage zone or district. These designations trigger special protections and oversight. Second, the Philippine Registry of Cultural Property or PRECOP requires systematic documentation and inventorying of cultural assets so authorities can track, manage, and plan for their conservation. Third, for immovable cultural property, registration may be annotated on land titles at the Registry of Deeds to bind future owners and discourage destructive alterations. Fourth, export, import, and repatriation rules restrict of removal of registered items and require permits to prevent illicit trade. Fifth, the Act mandates cultural mapping and heritage education at the LGU level to capture the sustained local assets. Finally, the law empowers agencies to issue cease and desist orders and imposes penalties for unauthorized destruction, alteration, or trafficking. Note also recent reforms such as RA 11961, which further emphasize mapping, education, and governance to close documentation gaps.
RA 10066, the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009, safeguards both tangible and intangible heritage. For example, under Article 4, the Vegan Heritage Zone shows how historic cities are preserved. Article 5 created the Philippine Registry of Cultural Property or PRECOP, which documents our cultural assets. And under Article 12, Centro Rizal Centers promotes Filipino culture abroad. These examples prove the law's impacts, protecting heritage zones, maintaining a national registry, and extending cultural promotion worldwide.
The Philippines values its cultural heritage, which includes important historic sites and treasures listed in the National Registry called PRECAP. This system helps document and protect these cultural assets with legal safeguards. Furthermore, local governments play a key role by mapping heritage sites and offering educational programs to increase community awareness and involvement. To improve this system, the government should consider simplifying how cultural properties are declared, thereby allowing more people to participate. Additionally, connecting cultural registries to land records via digital platforms would better safeguard immovable heritage. Furthermore, allocating funds for local governments to implement training and educational initiatives will improve heritage management. Also, tightening export and import laws can help enhance customs training and prevent unlawful trade. And lastly, community participation will be encouraged through local heritage councils and public programs, ensuring that our culture is conserved for future generations.